Hello, I'm Dr. Catherine Waggy, Medical Director for Cabarrus County EMS. We're here at Atrium Health Cabarrus, the hub of life-saving collaboration during cardiac arrest situations. The Hearts and Heroes event is a cherished celebration that reunites out-of-hospital cardiac arrest survivors and the teams that performed life-saving interventions. Usually, this is an in-person experience, but due to COVID-19, safety is our #1 priority. This year's celebration is a virtual tribute that provides a front row seat to one of the many amazing stories of life-saving care that occurred this past year. In 2020, Cabarrus County reached a 32% survival rate for patients who experienced a witnessed cardiac arrest. This is partly due to the advanced technology our EMS team uses to provide the best possible cardiac care. Each role in the response is critical and sets a course for recovery. In the case of Sam Scazzari, a collection of highly trained personnel used evidence-based treatment guidelines to help create a light at the end of a life-threatening tunnel. Here's the first part of Sam's amazing story.
Cabarrus County 911.
My husband's having pains in his chest.
Okay, what's the address?
And
immediately when you hear that it's a cardiac call, you get a little more amped up. You want to make sure that you get there as quickly as possible, you do everything correctly, and you get them to the hospital for the best outcome possible.
Cardiac calls can be so broad and widespread, so the biggest thing is just actually starting at the worst case scenario and working my way back from that. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen so that I'm mentally prepared and I'm not surprised at anything that's going to happen.
We want to see if they're little sick or big sick. That's the big question. And we have the right tools and equipment that we need to make sure that these patients are being well taken care of.
I like to just get all these things in my mind prepared and also have the protocols ready just as a precautionary. If I need to look at it, then all these resources are right here for me.
All right, has he ever had a heart attack or angina?
in the past he's
When I
had...
first started my career, out of 100 cardiac arrest victims, we've had less than 5% to survive. Right now in Cabarrus County, our ROSC, or return of spontaneous circulation, obviously is in the higher 70s percentile.
That was the first time a patient has ever looked me in my eyes and asked me not to let them die right before they died.
My name is Joan Scazzari. I was born in Rochester, New York, but I moved to Auburn, New York when I was 10. And then when I was 15, I met Sam. And we courted for 4 years. That's all my parents would allow. And we got married at 19. I was 19, he was older. So that's how I met him. And that's how our life began. And it's been a long time. We've been married 61 years.
We moved to North Carolina just a little over a year ago. We're also snowbirds. We run to Florida every January. We should be there now, but things had got held up. Last January, just before, the day before I was going to leave, I was loading the back of my pickup truck, fell out of it, and broke my hip. So I had to have that taken care of. And then after that, I had 3 more heart attacks. I've had 8 all total in my life. My first heart attack was over 30 years ago. I'm laying in the hospital, in a bed, all by myself in a room, and Jesus came down to me. And I said, I'm ready. He looked down, he says, I'm not. He says, you got things to do for me. So I figured if I'd be good to people and help people, that's what he wants me to do. And so I've lived my life that way. The last heart attack, I was sleeping and it woke me up, okay? And I could feel this like a big circle like the size of a steering wheel right down on my chest, okay? And it was starting to get to, I was having a hard time to breathe, so I had to get up and force myself to take deep breaths so that I could make sure that I kept all the air that I needed into my system.
He immediately yelled at me, call 911. He knew he was in trouble.
I give you some advice here. Don't go to the hospital by yourself. If you want to stay alive, get an ambulance, because they got people in the ambulance that can help you.
We'll have more on Sam's story soon. But first, here's a look at new technology that helped revolutionize Cabarrus County's response to cardiac situations.
In 2020, we purchased the auto pulses. Initially, they just went onto the supervisor's vehicles. When they showed up on scene, we were able to put those on the cardiac arrest patients to provide us with more hands-on with ALS. Now we have them on all the units for Cabarrus County. The good thing about the auto pulse is it provides high-quality CPR. Also, it gives us an opportunity to get more things done in a more timely manner. And for the citizens of Cabarrus County, it helps the survivability rate for cardiac arrest in the community. The great thing about the Zoll X Series heart monitor is that we have the capability with this monitor to transmit our 12 leads in suspected heart attack patients straight to the hospital. It goes to the ER, it goes to the cardiologist. That way, when we arrive with the patient, they're already aware and they have everything prepared to start treating this patient. How we do this is we're gonna, couple clicks, we provide the patient's name, it goes to the ER, we send it, we hit transmit, and there it is.
Performing high-quality chest compressions with minimal interruptions is vital for all cardiac arrest victims, and the AutoPulse and monitor clearly make the difference in life-saving situations. Now, let's move on to the second part of Sam's story.
My partner and I, Jessica, we loaded in the truck immediately. I think within 30 seconds we were in the truck. I think it was about 10 minutes to get to his house. And so on the ride, you know, we're both kind of going through our head on any kind of history they might have that would conflict with whatever we were trying to do.
And once we got there, he was sick, like he was pale and sweaty.
As soon as we got to the front door, he began vomiting, which immediately for us, that's a bad sign. He's obviously having a heart attack.
And his blood pressure was really low and his heart rate was really high. So just off of that, like I knew that we needed to move fast.
Our protocol state that within 5 minutes we have the monitor on them, analyzing their heart rhythm, and given his condition, that's why we opted to go straight to the truck.
We loaded him up onto the stretcher and got him into the ambulance.
His wife got in the passenger seat with me as well.
They're really gracious about that, so that I could be with him all the time that he was in trouble.
Tried to start IVs and nothing was going like we wanted it to, of course. But we started headed to the hospital and that's when everything got worse.
I pulled over, his wife asked, "What's going on? Is everything okay?" And I tried to calm her as best I could. I told her, "I'm not really sure. We're gonna see what his deal is."
I hope he doesn't die. I mean, it's as simple as that, you know, and you don't really know what to pray for. We didn't know anything about the AFib at that point. We just know he had a heart attack.
Per the protocol, we did place the pads on him to synchronize cardiovertim to get his heart at a slower rate so where it would actually perfuse to his brain. So whenever I put the pads on him, the patient looked at me dead in my eyes and was like, "Do not let me die." And I just got super flushed because I know not to promise a patient anything, but I assured him that we're going to do everything that we can and follow our protocols and just relax and take deep breaths. So whenever I did shock him, he went into cardiac arrest.
And the patient went unresponsive on us. Immediately, you know, we're worst case scenario at this point.
We'll be back soon with the conclusion of Sam's story. But first, I want to take a moment to reflect on this past year. It certainly has challenged us all personally in ways we never could have predicted. We have all adapted, persevered, and placed our faith in a brighter tomorrow. Despite this pandemic, we're still lucky enough to celebrate the lives of those saved here today. We go on undaunted, unwavering, proud to serve our family, our neighbors, and our community. Thankfully, there is hope and promise as we learn more each day about this virus, how to prevent it with masks and social distancing, and how to stop the spread of COVID-19 in its tracks by getting vaccinated. I am incredibly proud of Cabarrus EMS, all of our Cabarrus County first responders, and Atrium Cabarrus Hospital for continuing to provide excellent care to those most in need. Now, here's the final part of Sam's story.
Cabarrus EMS 81.
EMS 81.
Can you send us another unit?
Temple, where do you need them at?
4973 emergent.
Not for me, EMS 81. What you got?
83-year-old male, chest pain, heart rate at 220, gauge 61212, no change. Synchronized cardioverted, anyone unresponsive.
Cabarrus was 31.
31 copy their location where our cat's going off. We'll be in.
Well, this call that came out, we were dispatches a second unit to assist with a truck. We were probably about a mile from them.
I just pulled in my driveway, which was at probably less than a quarter of a mile, when I heard the EMS unit call communications and ask for a second EMS unit.
It wasn't long before we started seeing a little bit on the monitor. My partner shocked him once, and that brought his heart rate back up, and essentially he was alive at that point.
We worked him for 2 minutes or so, and we had to RSI him to secure his airway at that point.
The other people that showed up immediately went into action. They're all paramedics, and they started drawing up different medications, different drips, things that would help him immediately, as well as things that would help him en route to the hospital. He was unresponsive to us still, but he was back and living. When you first get him back, it's a big relief that, okay, now we can calm down just a little bit. They're doing better. The things that we've done have helped tremendously, but we still have a road to go down.
My daughter, who lives in Concord, left her house and met us along the way, and then followed the ambulance into the hospital. My daughter and her husband and my 2 grandchildren have been my support through all this. So we got to the hospital and they took him immediately. I have 3 sons away from here, and I knew I had to get them in there because they needed an opportunity to say goodbye. Excuse me if I could. And they came. One flew, one drove about 500-700 miles, and then one's on the other side of North Carolina. But he was in ICU for 12 days, completely in a coma. And we had to come to grips with that because that could end any way it wanted to.
The doctors here in Concord put a thing in my chest. Okay. And this thing transmits. Anytime my heart is going out of where it's supposed to be, it transmits it to the hospital. My heart is directing what I do.
The ICD, an internal cardiac defibrillator, is a device that's implanted under the skin, and I call it a guardian angel or a paramedic in your pocket. It does not prevent rhythms, code blue rhythms. It does not prevent these rhythms from coming on you, but it treats them very quickly.
He was in the hospital, getting a little bit better at a time, getting a little bit ornery sometimes, which is good. It's what you want. We were really very lucky. This whole thing, a lot of things worked for us, you know, we're very lucky. Of course, we all praying like crazy, you know, so it helps too.
Yeah, he really is doing very well. His rhythm has been pretty stable.
They're everything you want at that time, and I don't take that lightly because that's a tough job.
But it felt good to know that just having trust in Cabarrus County's protocols and following the protocols and doing everything that we've been trained to do.
It's a very special thing to bring someone back and be able to see them and speak to them again when you saw them on their worst day.
All I'm trying to do is stay alive and be with my wonderful wife.
We've had 61 years and we could have a few more, you know, because it's fun to have someone you like around you.
Love it.
What an incredible story. Thank you so much for watching and helping us celebrate Sam Scazzari and the many other lives saved by this world-class team dedicated to caring for the residents of Cabarrus County. Now here's a full list of the organizations and people involved in life-saving situations throughout the year.